So whenever I make a video talking about cheap attacks or annoying attacks or overpowered attacks, there's always a few people in the comments who are wondering why I don't bring up Shivas Stomp, because this thing can be very frustrating. But in all honesty, I don't consider this move that strong because you can see it coming a mile away, and if you watch the screen transition, it even tells you when she delays it. You just have to wait until the screen zooms in on your character and then move accordingly. And in fact, some characters like Johnny Cage can just walk forward or backwards and avoid the stomp every single time because their movement is just that good, so they don't even have to dash. So as long as you learn to watch the screen transition, that will tell you when she delays it, and a lot of characters can just walk to avoid it anyway. And don't get me wrong, in Variation 1, she can decide which side she lands on, and in that situation, you do pretty much have to guess, but that's only available in Variation 1, which in my opinion is one of the weaker variations, so you're actually better off if she picks that one. And on top of that, the damage isn't very high, only 10%, which is actually a bit low for unblockables, and she could spin the bar to get 15%, but for one bar, that's not worth the damage. So if they do spin the bar, you're in luck because that's just one less bar to extend combos. And then worst of all, if Shiva misses the stomp, you get a full combo punish on her, so it's actually a very big risk for Shiva and not a very big reward. So once again, in all sincerity, I don't consider this unblockable to be that bad. No, if you want to see a ridiculous unblockable in a Mortal Kombat game, then we have to go back, all the way back to Mortal Kombat X. Alright, so now we're talking about Tremor. This character, when he first came out, was godlike. And that was actually very common in Mortal Kombat X. Usually a DLC character was top 5 when they first came out. And I'm not sure if NetherRealm did that on purpose because it incentivized you to buy them, or if it was an honest mistake and the testing team just didn't have enough time with these characters. I'm not sure, but pretty much every DLC character was one of the best characters in the game when they first came out. So before we talk about Tremor's unblockable, I just want you to understand why this character was good even with his universal toolkit. So first up, forward 1, palm strike. This thing is 6 frames and a hit confirms for a full combo. So that's already really good. 6 frames, yeah, it might be a high attack, but it's really good. And then if you were a bit further away, he had spin slap right here. So this move a bit slower, but fantastic for whiff punishing. It had a low, and this low could be replaced with an overhead, very sneaky and tough to block. And even if you did commit to the low, you still got a combo anyway because that canceled as well. So already a 50-50 character off of this move right here. And then for more mix-ups, he also had this low combo starter right here, so that was pretty sneaky. I think he also had a meterless low launcher right here. Yep, so that starts off combos. Now despite being a standing 1, this is actually 10 frames, so not the best, but even so, if you did anything minus 10 or more and Tremor blocked it, he just got this punish for free, just guaranteed launch combo starter, good stuff. And then for extending combos, he had this move right here. This thing is just godlike. I love it so much. It looks so stupid and so easy to do, and that's because it is, but just look at that. It's so good. It carries the opponent all the way too. Look at all this screen carry. He's all the way in the corner, and we started off at mid-screen. So not only was Tremor pretty fast, 6 frames, that's not half bad. Not only was he really great at whiff punishing, but his damage was also really good, and every single touch he did pretty much guaranteed that you were in the corner. Look at that. And then once Tremor had you in the corner, he no longer needed Rising Stone. He didn't need back 2. He would just do hinge kick instead, or his forward 3. This thing did 9% damage and could also special cancel just like everything else, which means you would do stuff like this. Da, 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 da. And look at that, getting a bit more damage and the hard knockdown. So in the corner, Tremor was doing pretty good damage, and keep in mind he's been nerfed. So before I made this video you're currently watching, he did a lot more damage. Okay, so now that we have all of that out of the way, I think it's finally time to talk about his unblockable, the ground pulse. So this thing hits unblockable from full screen. So it's kind of like Jax's ground pound in Variation 3, only you don't even have to spin the bar, it's yours free of charge. So that's really good already. And unlike Shiva, who also has a move just like this in MK11, Tremor doesn't even leave the ground, so it's not as obvious when he's going for it, and it's deceptively fast. Trust me, this thing can catch you off guard all the time. Now thankfully this move does have one weakness. You actually can't special cancel into it, whether it's on hit or block, so at least that's nice. However, if you wanted to spin the bar, you got a bit more damage at 13%, and you knocked the opponent off their feet, and that was a big deal because Tremor had moves like this, the rock drop, that completely snuffed their wake up entirely. However, none of that is what made this unblockable scary. Once again, I consider this to be one of the best unblockables in NetherRealm games, so check this out. This move would even hit you if you were on the ground. So check this out. You can't escape it. If you want to do delayed wake up, get that out of here. It hits you guaranteed every time. And even if you didn't play this game, I bet you can already tell why this was a problem for anybody who fought Tremor, because he could do stuff like this. You'd hit the ground and then, uh-oh, looks like that's guaranteed. Do stuff like this, short combo, uh-oh, couldn't get up in time, it's guaranteed. And keep that in mind, it didn't matter if the opponent did delayed wake up. If they couldn't get off the ground in time to avoid this thing, it would land. And that's just one more reason this Unblockable was so scary and powerful, especially when you consider how Tremor had so many different moves that put you on your back in a slide knockdown state. And what this meant was Tremor could do any combo he wanted, and as long as he ended with this, or anything that put you in a slide knockdown state, he could do the Unblockable, and it was guaranteed every single time. And you might think that's not a big deal because at least it costs 1 bar, but once again, we're talking about Tremor. This guy does not need meter for any of his combos, and this Unblockable was guaranteed every time. However, if you notice just then, the damage was actually scaled on the Unblockable. It only did 5% instead of 13%, but that's only because this move has been nerfed. When Tremor first came out, that damage scaling was not there. And this meant that any time Tremor touched you and did a combo, he could end with the Unblockable, and every time it would do a guaranteed 13%. And if you were to ask me personally, I don't think the slide knockdown was meant to give him that guaranteed Unblockable follow-up. I think instead this was meant to allow him to add his armor, which he had in the crystalline variation, or I think it was also to set up his rock drop. I think that was also one more benefit of them being on their back, as it was a bit easier to set up the rock fall. However, regardless of the reason NetherRealm gave him all these different ways to put the opponent in a slide knockdown state, all it really ended up doing was giving Tremor a bunch of guaranteed unblockable damage at the end of every combo. And as the opponent, you didn't have any options. You couldn't go for a wake up, you couldn't stay on the ground, you couldn't roll, nothing. If you were on the ground and couldn't jump, this Unblockable was guaranteed to hit you every single time. Now, Tremor's damage was actually nerfed, but even so, let's do the math. Let's start off with this. Okay, so that's 28%, and then do the Unblockable, which was guaranteed, and that's 13%. So for just 1 bar, you're getting over 40% damage even after his damage was nerfed. I'm gonna play an older clip from my channel, and as you can see, Tremor was getting almost 50% for just 1 bar of meter. And I have to emphasize, there was no way to escape this damage. You were going to eat that Unblockable every single time Tremor touched you unless you had a combo breaker available. And honestly, even if you had the combo breaker, you had to use it before he landed that slide knockdown attack, because otherwise the Unblockable could not be escaped. As you can see right now, I have Reptile's breaker mode set to on, and that means the second he gets the chance, he is going to do a combo breaker. But right here, he absolutely cannot. He cannot escape this unblockable damage, which once again did not scale. It was going to do 13% every single time, and you could not escape it. So once again, just to summarize, Tremor was already a very fast character with great whiff punishing. He had 50-50s like right here and right here, and then in the crystalline variation, he had even stronger 50-50s that were unreactable and had to do with his special moves. And then on top of all of that, he was doing some really high damage, and the unblockable was guaranteed. And also keep in mind that this Unblockable was available in every single variation, so no matter which variation you were playing, you always got this Unblockable follow-up at the end of your combos. And that's why when people tell me that Shivas Unblockable is ridiculous, I just think of this move and how ridiculously strong it was. And keep in mind, Tremor had more ridiculous stuff, don't get me wrong. He had an air attack that hit low, so that's pretty darn ridiculous. He had this move, which was a low that would detonate, and then before it got nerfed, Tremor could throw you, and it would interrupt the throw, but Tremor would not get knocked down, which meant he could just keep the combo going anyway, so his throws led to full combos as well. Believe me when I tell you, this character had a lot of stuff going for him, but once again, that was nothing new in Mortal Kombat X. Pretty much every character that came out was ridiculous, but in my opinion, Tremor had a far more ridiculous unblockable than Shiva could ever claim to have. In my opinion, this might be one of the best unblockables in any NetherRealm Mortal Kombat game. Once again, by default, full screen, unblockable low. If you do a delayed wake up, it's going to catch you, you can't avoid this thing, and if he spins the bar, he gets more damage and he knocks you off your feet, and anytime he ends a combo with a slide knockdown, he gets the guaranteed unblockable follow-up every single time, and it did not scale. You saw this happening all the time at tournaments because once again, when Tremor came out, every pro player was using him because he was pretty much top 5, and this unblockable was one reason why. And that's why I think Tremor had one of the best unblockables, but please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, it really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by suplexing that subscribe button, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.